In 1970, one income could buy a home in the US. Today, the average American family spends 40% of their gross income just on housing. Here is the math they don't want you to see. In the next 8 minutes, we decode how 50 years of monetary inflation silently dismantled the foundation of middle-class stability and reveal the exact structural mechanics that converted homeownership from an automatic wealth builder into a lifetime debt trap. In 1971, the decoupling of the US dollar from gold initialized an era of unchecked fiat expansion. While worker productivity surged exponentially, real median wages remained flat across 5 consecutive decades. To maintain the illusion of prosperity, the financial system deployed a massive replacement mechanism, consumer debt leverage. Let's isolate the primary structural divergence, the housing-to-income multiple shift. In 1970, the median American home cost roughly 2.5 times the average annual household income. Nora analyzes modern urban housing metrics, realizing that ratio has exploded past 6 times median earnings. This structural shift forces modern buyers to take on 30-year mortgage liabilities that absorb their prime compounding years. The single-earner household became economically impossible, forcing both partners into full-time corporate labor loops. Instead of building double the wealth, families spent their second income simply competing for the same housing inventory. Xavier maps these structural income traps, tracking the exact velocity of household purchasing power decay. The empirical data proves that the modern dual-income family possesses less discretionary cushion than the single-earner family of 1970. This realization exposes the middle-class dream as an unsustainable, credit-fueled illusion. Let's chart the secondary crisis. The secondary crisis manifests as the hyperinflation of essential baselines. While imported consumer electronics became cheaper, non-discretionary costs, housing, healthcare, and education skyrocketed. Higher education costs expanded over 1,200%, saddling young professionals with unprecedented debt loads before their careers even began. Healthcare premiums absorbed an ever larger share of corporate compensation packages, suppressing direct take-home pay. Nora reviews her monthly fixed overhead, realizing that survival essentials consume 80% of her net earnings. She is earning a top-tier salary, yet one unexpected medical or employment shock could dissolve her stability instantly. This vulnerability is not an accident. It is the structural design of a system that requires continuous labor compliance. When middle-class families lack liquid reserves, they cannot afford to take risks, launch ventures, or challenge institutional rules. Let's isolate the third primary structural trap, the asset inflation gap. Central bank liquidity injections inflate financial assets, stocks, and real estate, which are predominantly owned by the top 10%. The wage earner, relying on cash savings, watches their purchasing utility erode while asset owners accumulate passive equity. Xavier traces the expansion of the wealth gap following every major monetary intervention cycle. The mathematical reality proves that labor alone can no longer outpace currency debasement. To survive the death of the traditional middle class, you must transition from a pure wage earner to a sovereign capital allocator. Nora confronts the absolute truth of her balance sheet, discarding legacy career assumptions to build an independent fortress. To break completely free from this structural trap, you must deploy the Capital Insulation Shield Protocol. We systematically protect your capital by dividing your resources into 3 non-negotiable insulation vectors. Vector number 1 commands a strict 40% allocation of all surplus cash directly into short-duration sovereign debt. This routes your capital outside commercial bank leverage loops, capturing risk-free yield backed by federal taxation authority. You eliminate counterparty risk while ensuring your liquid runway remains 100% accessible. Nora executes this programmatic allocation, securing her first $10,000 baseline outside the retail banking matrix. She treats her wealth insulation targets like an ironclad contract with her future independent self. If you are ready to dismantle middle-class dependency and build real economic sovereignty, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and hit that notification bell. Let's build. Leave a comment below with your housing-to-income ratio target, because math deletes institutional myths. Let's isolate vector number 2, the Global Production Index Shield. We direct 30% of your surplus straight into low-overhead, total market index assets. You bypass speculative stock picking, purchasing an automated share of aggregate human innovation and industrial output. As megacorporations raise consumer prices to offset inflation, their internal asset values scale proportionally. Your index baseline appreciates automatically, serving as a dynamic mathematical hedge against currency debasement. You align your personal trajectory directly with global corporate profitability and macro infrastructure. Xavier monitors multi-decade index compounding curves against flat real-wage growth trajectories. The empirical proof demonstrates that aggregate equity ownership systematically outpaces labor income across all cycles. Now let's analyze vector number 3, the absolute physical scarcity vault node. We convert the final 30% into physical liquidity reserves or undebasable asset weights. This capital block is placed securely inside a personal safe box, completely detached from digital banking networks. It serves as your primary line of armor against short-term credit blackouts or digital processing freezes. If local financial systems encounter friction, your transactional autonomy remains 100% operational. Nora completes her 3-vector allocation blueprint, transforming her liquid runway into an impregnable fortress. She no longer relies on consumer debt or employer benevolence to sustain her lifestyle baseline. She has successfully decoupled her financial survival from the middle-class debt matrix. Let's analyze the secondary operational milestone, setting up automated execution pipelines. Configure your primary checking account to programmatically transfer surplus funds within 48 hours of deposit. This deletes emotional intervention, preventing lifestyle creep from absorbing your investable surplus. You enforce discipline through code and automated rules, ensuring consistency across every economic season. Let's isolate the third wave of middle-class destruction: institutional residential land grabs. Wall Street private equity funds deploy billions in cheap capital to buy out single-family homes at scale. They systematically price out first-time buyers, converting a generation of prospective owners into perpetual renters. The yield that once built generational equity for American families is now funneled into institutional investor portfolios. Xavier maps these corporate acquisitions across major metropolitan zip codes. The data confirms that in key growth markets, over 30% of starter homes are swallowed by corporate entities. Nora recognizes the trap, paying escalating rent to a corporate landlord while your wage purchasing power declines. To break this cycle, you must stop treating residential housing as your sole investment engine. Understand that a primary residence with a 30-year high-interest mortgage is a cash flow liability, not a liquid asset. Your equity remains locked inside drywall and foundation stone while the bank collects your monthly interest payments. Now let me detail the exact structural pivot required to bypass this institutional housing squeeze. Step 1. Separate your residential shelter needs from your wealth accumulation velocity. If local price-to-rent ratios are distorted, lease your primary living space and direct your saved capital into productive assets. This frees your capital delta from being trapped inside a localized, illiquid real estate asset. Xavier tracks the compounding differential of rent and invest strategies against high-interest mortgage debt. The empirical math proves that investing the down payment capital into productive global assets outpaces primary home equity in inflated cycles. Step 2. Utilize sovereign legal entity structures to hold your productive assets. By placing capital inside holding entities, you create a protective barrier between your personal liabilities and your wealth. Nora structures her independent consulting revenue through a dedicated entity, capturing tax-advantaged operational deductions. She intercepts capital before individual income tax rates reduce her net accumulation speed. Step 3. Reinvest your net entity profits into undebasable asset classes. Do not allow your entity capital to sit idle in commercial checking accounts where bank inflation degrades its purchasing utility. Route funds automatically into short-term treasury bills, broad market index trackers, and physical bullion reserves. This creates a multi-layered defense matrix that compounds silently while insulating your household baseline. Xavier monitors the velocity of wealth preservation across multi-generational economic shocks. The numbers demonstrate that structured asset insulation is the only proven defense against currency debasement. Step 4. Eliminate consumer credit dependencies and maintain a rigid overhead ceiling. Do not inflate your living expenses to match temporary increases in active consulting or salary income. Keep your personal burn rate locked at your baseline survival metric, funneling 100% of the delta into your fortress. Nora tracks her growing capital reserves, realizing she has built 6 years of undebasable living runway. She has achieved complete financial immunity from corporate layoffs, localized housing crashes, or economic downturns. This is the exact transition from an over-leveraged middle-class consumer to a sovereign capital allocator. The financial system is built on the expectation that you will remain trapped in the housing and labor debt loop forever. When you break that expectation, you reclaim full custody over your time, your energy, and your generational future. Let's review the final execution checklist to lock in your sovereign insulation blueprint tonight. Audit your current housing overhead and calculate your true price-to-rent ratio relative to local asset yields. Establish your dedicated entity holding structure to isolate your primary surplus cash flows. Automate your 3-vector capital distribution: 40% sovereign debt, 30% index equity, 30% physical reserves. Cap your household overhead permanently, treating every saved dollar as a defensive shield guarding your freedom. Xavier concludes his macroeconomic assessment, locking the quantitative data models into the war room ledger. The multi-decade empirical evidence is absolute. Reliance on a single W-2 wage and inflated home equity is financial vulnerability. Building structured, diversified capital insulation is the only proven pathway to permanent economic sovereignty. Stop playing by the rules of an economy designed to extract your lifetime purchasing power. Build your independent fortress, control your allocation vectors, and command your financial runway. The choice before your personal trajectory remains completely objective, binary, and unyielding. You can choose to remain trapped inside their 30-year debt matrix, funding institutional wealth expansion. Or you can execute the data-backed insulation blueprint to lock in permanent economic velocity. Audit your balance sheet tonight, eliminate the inefficiency leaks, and insulate your baseline capital. Deny the commercial banking matrix the power to dilute your active life force energy. Take absolute custody of your wealth trajectory by prioritizing real-world purchasing capability shields, the emotional noise of status consumption. But when you align with empirical data, your independent fortress parameters become entirely impregnable across time. Stop functioning like an over-leveraged wage earner. Build like an institutional capital strategist. Automate your module redirections, enforce strict internal spending contracts, and let time compound. Every single automated dollar you insulate shatters an institutional control node completely. Reclaim absolute command over your finite human life force active generation runway lines. Align your lifecycle execution blueprints with the unyielding truth of empirical data parameters tonight. If this targeted financial documentary is changing your trajectory, take a second right now to subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button and leave a detailed comment below mapping out your own long-term allocation strategy parameters. Your future financial independence is determined exclusively by the data-driven boundaries you implement right now. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and hit that notification bell. The mathematical reality doesn't care about emotional market noise. Every programmatic resource allocation you deploy right now alters your future wealth trajectory permanently. Close the screen and build.